So today I'm lucky enough to be embarking on a trip to Salt Lake City to see the incredible Tabernacle Choir. I'll be documenting my journey, so come along for the ride and let's see what it's all about. Now, I only found out 2 days ago that I was going to be making this trip, and unfortunately my passport had expired. So my first stop is going to be the London Passport Office to pick up my new passport, and then it's straight to Heathrow Airport to catch my flight. Nothing like cutting it fine, eh? So this was a massive whirlwind trip, guys. There were 48 hours between me finding out that I was going to when I got on the plane. Nearly everything that you see me do in Salt Lake City was not pre-planned, and I had no idea I was doing it before I got to Utah. So I really had no time to plan this content. I really hope you enjoy what I've thrown together for you. So thanks to some hold-ups with public transport, I'm actually late to my appointment at the passport office. So I really am hoping that I can keep my appointment and get my new passport, because I fly in a few hours. And if I can't get this passport, it's going to be an absolute disaster. Well, that is a massive relief. I have my passport. We're ready to go. So let's head to Heathrow Airport and catch a plane. So off I went on my merry way to catch my plane. Now, luckily this part of my journey went pretty much without incident, apart from getting stopped by the police about here. Now, all they wanted to do was check why I was filming so close to the Excel Center, which there are obvious security risks for in terms of terrorism, etc, etc. But they were very, very cool about it, and they didn't stop me filming. So on this occasion, it was a great interaction. Right, so I've made it through security. And I haven't eaten for almost 2 days because I've been so busy preparing for this trip, and I'm starving, so time to find something to eat. Now, many of you may know that I'm a big foodie, and I would have shown you what I ate had it not been so painfully underwhelming. Now, I'm not going to shame the establishment that it came from, because it wasn't awful, it just wasn't that great. But I had a great flight, props to Delta Airways, everything went smoothly, the service was great, the food was good. Now I have to ask you guys, because it's been nearly 10 years since I've flown anywhere or had a holiday or a vacation if you're from America. What is this new phenomenon of everyone closing the window shutters on a plane by default, even if it's not nighttime or time to sleep? Personally, I like to look out of the window, but I felt obliged to keep my shutter closed because everyone else had. Is this a new unspoken rule that I missed or something? Well, folks, I am here. I have landed in Salt Lake City. I am absolutely exhausted, so I'm going to head to my hotel, get some sleep, and I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Peace. Okay, I've woken up, day one. The sun is shining, the views are beautiful. I've had my breakfast, but we're about to start the day off right with a little workout. But check this view out. Don't know how well you can see that, but damn. So here I go, first day in the city, and I really just wanted to have a look around and see what it was all about and orient myself a little bit. Now, one of the first things that struck me walking around on this gorgeous day was just quite how well maintained and put together this city is. It is beautiful. And because the city, like many places in America, are made up of blocks and straight roads, every time you get to an intersection, you can look down one of the 4 roads that surrounds you, and you can see the amazing mountains that surround Salt Lake City. It's just spectacular everywhere you look. Right, so I'm currently downtown Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful, beautiful day, and I'm just going to go and take a look around. I'm going to head up to Temple Square, orient myself a little bit, and just see as much of this beautiful city as I can. And I'm lucky enough this evening to be going for a meal with some of the Tabernacle Choir leaders, which I'm super excited for and honoured to be able to do. So I headed up to the City Creek Centre, which is a gorgeous open-air shopping centre. Now, I am a sucker for a water feature, and the City Creek Centre did not disappoint in that area. There were gorgeous stone-flanked watery gullies running through the middle of every wing of this shopping centre. It truly was one of the best-looking shopping malls I've ever been to. Now, I stumbled across this awesome little store called Lids, and you know me, of course I had to pick myself up a couple of Yankees baseball caps. So after checking out just a couple more water features, I headed up to Temple Square to take a look at some of the church buildings. Okay, so I'm just walking around Temple Square and it is absolutely beautiful. I've got the Church History Museum to my left. I'm just about to round the corner and see the amazing conference centre. Let's have a look. There it is, folks. What an incredible building. It is absolutely massive. It really, really stands out. You can't miss it. Look at it. It is grand and it has incredible presence. Oh my word. Look at the size of it. It is absolutely humongous. The scale of the conference centre really was staggering. It was so imposing as you walked up to it. So as I walked past the conference centre, on my right I could see the temple and the Tabernacle with its amazing domed roof. Now, speaking of the Tabernacle, I was lucky enough after my meal with the choir leadership to be given an impromptu behind the scenes tour of the Tabernacle. So stay tuned because that's coming up shortly. Very few people get to have that experience, so I'm honoured that I got to have it and overjoyed that I get to share it with you guys. Look at this waterfall just cascading down the entire building from just under the tower. It is absolutely incredible. Never seen anything like it in my life. Look at that. And here on my left you can see the office building. It really is very overwhelming just how huge all of these buildings are and grand. It's amazing, and there's so much construction work. There's more on the right here, but this truly is quite something. It's hard not to be intimidated by it. So after snooping around the city all day and having a great time, it was time for me to go for a meal with some of the people responsible for making sure that the Tabernacle Choir remains in operation and running smoothly. The food was banging and they were honestly the most fun and lovely group of people. But as I said earlier, they decided to give me an impromptu tour of the Tabernacle, so off I went with Lindsay, her husband Ben, Alison, Mark and Scott and his wife Annie. So as we walked from the car park to the Tabernacle, we came past this. In the heart of Temple Square stands the Pioneer Log Home, built in 1847 by LDS pioneers after their long journey west. This small cabin was one of the first homes in the Salt Lake Valley, offering shelter and symbolizing a new beginning. Restored and relocated in 1976, it now serves as a tribute to the resilience and faith of early settlers, reminding visitors of the pioneering spirit that built Salt Lake City. So as you enter in beneath the Tabernacle, you are immediately confronted with corridor after corridor full of offices, studios, rooms full of artifacts, changing rooms, all sorts. But come with me and I will show you all of it.
The choir's won lots of awards or been given lots of gifts or like recognitions, and so
Wasn't it the Grammy Award one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Grammys and Billboard.
I don't know where the Grammys at, but there's
an Emmy.
Yep, we've got a couple Emmys that we've won for different things.
Super
These
cool.
are really cool. So starting with our world tour, every place that we've gone, there's been a custom plate that's been designed that
Right.
we give to any guests that come in to see the choir. And so this one was from the Philippines, this was from Mexico. And it's really cool because every plate is designed by people that are local to the area and manufactured by people.
That's cool.
So it's all,
Yeah.
it's not just we make it here and ship it out,
Take
it's
it.
all like local
That's
stuff,
really
which is
cool.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah. Now we will come back to this amazing picture here in front of us in just a moment, but this corridor was lined full of pictures, paintings and memorabilia from throughout the history of the choir. Here we can see some pictures and a torch from the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics.
I just a little bit.
So this hallway just has photos from past tours, some of the past leadership of the choir.
Let's see.
This is way different than your last. We had a new kind of
See, this was before the other parts of the
regional?
organ were
The organ.
built out.
Well, we have the regional, but
Yeah,
then
it's
we got
much
the
more
telly.
narrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Telly, that's right.
Anyway, we just got that.
So this would be what year? If Joe was here, you know.
This,
Oh,
I think they, I want to say it's like early 1900s. Because I think they did the extension in like the 10s. I want to say it's like 1915 or something that they started building out the
organ.
extension of the organ.
Mark is absolutely bang on the money here. The organ was originally built in 1867 with 700 pipes. Then in 1885 it was expanded to include over 2,000 pipes. Then the renovation and enlargement that Lindsay and Mark just spoke about, where the extra wings were added onto the side of the organ, that happened in 1915 and the number of pipes increased to 4,496. There have been 2 expansions since, the last of which was in the 80s, that brought the total number of pipes up to 11,623.
President Kennedy. I didn't know he came.
Well, no, it's because we sang at his inauguration.
Oh, I thought
Well,
that
no,
was
I
you.
think he
that's
can.
not
No, that's here.
inauguration.
Oh, that's here. That's
Yeah.
here.
Oh yeah.
The only
Why was
inaugurations
he
are
here?
Lyndon B. Johnson, Ronald Reagan. The coolest guest we've had is Donald Duck.
Yeah.
He came out
He's a cool guy.
conducted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And indeed, here is Donald being the guest conductor.
No. Show them where the magic's made.
Yeah.
Allison's in it somewhere, I think.
Yes, I'm not in the back row, babes. I am. I'm right there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Look at that.
Mark, you're not in that. Were you
No,
here
I-
that year?
No,
You were here.
I was here,
at
but
this
I wasn't,
time,
yeah, I wasn't here that time.
So these
Everybody-
sparkly blue people here are the bell ringers.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. That is a beautiful picture. The camera really does not do justice to quite how vibrant and popping the colours were on this picture. It was absolutely exquisite. Now, this is one of many gold records that the Tabernacle Choir has, but this one I think was for the Morburn Tabernacle Choir Sings Christmas Carols. It's a lot of copies.
Yeah.
This is the office of Kelly Taylor, and he is the director of marketing. He was at the meal that we were all at just earlier. He is an absolutely lovely man, and as you can see, a real talented artist too.
Photo painting. This is the original. This is the original painting, and this is our current director right there, Matt Wilbur.
That is beautiful. Now we're going to take a trip downstairs and have a look at many things, but first of all we're going to take a look at the room where all of the sheet music is kept. It is absolutely dizzying quite how much music is in this room and the level of organisation that it takes to run this choir.
So every Thursday, there's going to be new music that'll get distributed based on future broadcasts that are getting ready.
Oh, and this is where they pick it up.
Yeah, this is where they
This
pick
is
it
like
up.
their little
So
mailbox.
if you come in here,
Isn't that kind of cool?
That's really cool.
this is the library. So the whole set of librarians, I think there's 10 plus, they're all volunteer, where they will come and when the director, Mac, when he decides what music he wants on a broadcast, a few weeks earlier, they'll come and they'll pull the music and get it in everybody's boxes. But there's millions of pieces
There's over a million.
Yeah, so
There's
take
crazy.
a,
Usually on any given day, there's about 2 million pieces of
Wow.
yeah.
That
Take
is
take a look and
insane.
see.
It's
This
between.
whole system, and goes all the way through. Everything is coded by number, so like you can see the name
Yeah.
and
It's super
everything.
organised, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And if you don't bring the music back, they will find you.
Yeah, they will.
They will send loving notes.
This is me walking between 2 of 9 double-sided rolling shelving units. Bear in mind that Mark and myself were just standing in a corridor between 2 banks of 9 rolling shelving units. It's crazy how much music is in here. So as we progress further into this labyrinth, we go and take a look at a room where the choir's gowns, robes and dresses are kept. See if you can recognise any from previous performances. Now this bit is super interesting, and this is going to be your first peek at the inner workings of the incredible Tabernacle organ. I was lucky enough, and I really am lucky to be given access to this part, to go down into the basement and take a look at one of the immense organ blowers. This really gives you some kind of idea of the scale of this instrument. This really is an instrument as big as a building.
This machine's name is Spencer.
Hey Spencer.
So, so this blower here controls the main organ, and then there's this blower here feeds to the antiphonals in the back.
Oh, cool.
So,
Are you making this up?
not.
The whole room is a big filter system.
It sounds good.
This is the
I
clean
believe
room.
it.
We just made it dirty, by the way.
We contaminated it.
So as they're playing, these will pick on, and they'll just be running.
Is it loud?
I haven't been down here when it's been going.
It looks like it would be loud.
Have we touched it?
Sure.
Mark, this is like the scene in Lost where there's the electromagnet that like kind of blows the guy up.
Now, unfortunately, since I've returned from Salt Lake City, I've somehow managed to lose all of the footage of the amazing organ tour I got from Joe, the organ technician. I am so gutted about this. The tour was amazing. It was so comprehensive. I got some great footage. Joe is just the most wonderful guy, and he gave us such a great tour. But what I do have footage of is an amazing chat and demonstration I had from Andrew, one of the Tabernacle organists.
This is not a real wall. It's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
garage door. And then it's the stage that
So
goes
yeah,
up.
we're under the stage. The way that we get our seating and pianos and
Like
instruments
that,
up there, this comes up like a garage door. Then it's a big elevator that goes up to the stage.
I see.
We're like under the
incredible.
Yeah, we'll
stage
show you
right
when
here.
we go up there.
Where it comes up.
Yeah, you'll see.
Now we're going to go and take a look at some of the rehearsal rooms and studios. This next room is a rehearsal room, and in it you're going to see 2 of the small organs that the organists practice on. Mark's going to tell us a little bit about those.
So here's
Oh wow, look.
they've got the organ set up here. Now, something that I just learned a couple months ago is that the
I see
organ
Andy and Brian
console
play all this all the time.
and the pipes that are
They
available
play
are
this all the
different here in the Tabernacle versus what is over in the conference center. And so it gets really crazy for
Oh, this one has a key.
it gets really crazy for them where they'll still be rehearsing with the
light up.
choir here, but they're playing music that they won't be able to play with the same register or anything like that over at the conference center. So they're practicing things here with the choir
You should
Yeah.
that
ask
they
Andy.
have to go forget and learn the actual
different
stuff.
instrument.
You know, so it's
Wow.
kind of, I didn't realize that they. I mean, it just hurts my brain trying to think about.
Playing in.
Here we have the main studio. Now, oddly enough, all of the audio and the broadcast for everything that happens at the conference center is handled here in the studio at the Tabernacle. Also, another cool thing that I learned here was that if there are any problems with the broadcast at all, they have a pre-recording that they can cut in and cut out at a moment's notice. And finally, we get to the coolest and most special part of this whole tour, which was catching a golden elevator up to the next floor and getting to go through and see the tabernacle and the organ for the first time. It was so overwhelming. I've obviously seen it in the videos I've reacted to before, but nothing prepares you for what it's like walking into that room for the first time. It's spectacular. Unfortunately, this camera doesn't do any justice to how breathtaking this room is. Oh my gosh.
Don't go up there.
Oh my god. Now in front of me, Alison is showing me the portion of the stage that rises up from the lower levels, accessed by the garage-style door we saw earlier.
Allison is going to do a little performance for us.
So, lastly, what I'm going to leave you with, folks, is an organ demonstration that I got from Andrew Unsworth, who is one of the organists at the Tabernacle. He is a lovely, lovely man, and I'm very, very grateful to him for this demonstration. In this demonstration, he's not only going to play us some music, but he's also going to tell us how the console works and how to pry certain sounds out of the belly of this amazing instrument. Earlier on in the video, you heard me say that I lost the footage of the organ tour that I got that was given by Joseph Nielsen, who is the organ technician. Unfortunately, that is true, but he does make an appearance in this one just to tell us a little bit about how the pipes work. Now, I apologize for the terrible camera work on this. I've chopped multiple people's heads off and stuff like that. I was focusing more on absorbing what I was being told than the footage. Unfortunately, I didn't have a cameraman with me on this trip, and this kind of shooting is new to me. So anyway, lesson learned. I hope you get the gist of it. I didn't position the camera very well when I was speaking to Andrew, and I definitely chopped Joseph's head off while I was speaking to him. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it.
So we're in the Tabernacle in Salt Lake City, Utah, and this is a famous building. It's significant to us as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for a number of reasons, but also a significant a landmark architecturally and acoustically. The building was completed in 1867, and it's before the railroad came to Salt Lake City. Right. And it's always impressed me that in their poverty, because the pioneers arrived here in 1847 and they were scratching at a living in the desert. Sure. And these are people who really had nothing. They're religious immigrants, persecuted, and came here to just for their lives, basically, to be in a place where they could live and practice their religion safely. And so not a whole lot of water, not much vegetation, and so they're scratching out a living here in the desert. But they love beautiful things. They love music, and they wanted a place where they could worship. And so there were other buildings here on Temple Square where the people would meet. There was also an outside area called a bowery, which is just a bunch of branches over this area to provide shade where the people would gather. But by the early 1860s, there were enough people here in Salt Lake City that the president of the church at the time, Brigham Young, said we needed to do something bigger to be able to accommodate as many people as possible. And so in their poverty, they designed and built this building. And it's a remarkable building for a number of reasons. When it was completed, it was the largest auditorium in the world. And that amazes me. Yeah. Before there was a Royal Albert Hall or a Carnegie Hall, there was the Tabernacle. And reports are that they would cram 14,000 people in here, which is hard to believe.
That's amazing.
That may be an exaggeration. Maybe everybody sucked in their gut. Yeah. I think people were smaller then, and maybe the pews were closer together. But maybe. I think the seating capacity now is closer to 3,000 here. So it's also famous because of its acoustics. Acoustics was only understood in a pretty rudimentary way in the 19th century, and there were no microphones in 1867. And the building's primary purpose was for the local residents to hear their religious leaders speak to them. And they did some experimentation, and they knew something about the shape of a parabola, and so they came up with a design. And the person who ultimately designed the building was actually a bridge builder. And
Really?
so this arch of the ceiling was designed in such a way, it's like one span of the underside of a bridge.
Right,
So,
interesting.
Yeah. So the idea was to have a single span with an unobstructed view for as many people as possible.
Yes, okay.
And this was also because there was no railroad, there wasn't ready access to a lot of metal or minerals. And so this place was built largely with wood held together with cow skin. So they would soak the cow skin in water and tie it around pieces of wood they were trying to join. And then when the cow skin would dry, it would shrink and hold it all together.
How clever.
So anyway, so it's pretty ingenious.
Yeah.
There are some other little pioneer features. One of them is, like, if you look at the wood case here and the wood, well, actually the pillars over there are painted. So the pillars are painted to look like marble. The wood case here is painted to look like walnut, even though it's pine. So
Really?
yeah, and all the pews were originally also painted. They were pine benches painted to look like oak.
Right.
But now actually they're real oak benches. They replaced
yeah.
the original pews because they were not very comfortable.
And that's all due to the limited resources.
Yeah,
that
so they
surrounding-
they were accustomed to hardwood.
Yeah, okay.
And they fine furniture. They couldn't do it here because they didn't have the
Of
materials.
course. Really out in the sticks
So
here.
yeah, so they did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah.
So the building's also famous because of the Tabernacle Choir, and so the Tabernacle Choir has officially 360 members. If you look here, see all these seats. The choir does a weekly radio and television broadcast. It's the world's longest continuous network broadcast. Been happening every week since 1929.
Yeah,
So we're
wow.
coming up on 100 years. And so it's a live broadcast, 30 minutes of devotional music. It's not really a religious. It's devotional in nature. Some occasionally Broadway show too. It's a show that's meant to appeal to a wide audience. These days, the choir is accompanied by orchestra and organ. The original broadcasts were just with organ, but about 20 years ago, the orchestra at Temple Square was founded, and the orchestra can do stuff that the organ can't.
course,
And so
yeah.
still the organ is an integral part of the broadcast. There's always an organ solo on every broadcast, and the organ plays as a member of the orchestra. And the organ is kind of the glue that holds the broadcast together. I flatter myself. But because it's a live broadcast and it's 27 minutes and 56 seconds long, the organ helps to either fill the gap, or we have our solo we can tighten, or there's a place for a little organ interlude to try to fill up some time.
Okay.
So the organ's an important part of the broadcast. And so the Tabernacle is also famous because of this organ here, which is one of the world's largest pipe organs. It has 11,623 pipes, and spread over 5
Crazy.
manuals and pedal.
Yeah.
The original Tabernacle organ was actually built by an English cabinet maker. We don't know a whole lot about his organ training. He may have not had a whole lot of formal training, but he spent some time hanging around an organ factory in London, and he liked organs. And he moved to Australia, and in Australia, or on the ship to Australia, he met some members of our church, and he ended up joining the church.
Really?
And then he built his first organ in Australia. He worked in a mining camp in Australia, building cabinets, and anyway, built an organ, and that organ and his family and some of the other people who had emigrated to Australia who had joined our church, they came to California and then brought the organ and themselves to Salt Lake City by wagon.
Right.
I think it's the late 1850s is when that all happened. So he had some experience organ building, and the president of the church, Brigham Young, asked him if he thought like a big organ could be built. The guy's name was Joseph Ridges, and he said yes. And so Brigham Young said, "Okay, you do it." And so here we have this thing. This case, the original organ case. It wasn't quite as wide as what we have now, but this is his organ case.
I see. So where did it come out to originally?
So you see these towers of three, these two towers of three.
Yes.
And then the singles off to the side.
Yep.
The singles off to the side is where it ended.
Okay.
So the wings were added in 1915.
Right.
So, Joe, do you happen to know how many pipes the Ridges organ had?
No.
It's a couple thousand.
Yeah, it wasn't very big.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the tallest pipes in the organ are 32 feet tall, and the pitch that they produce is 16 hertz.
Wow.
So, so this pipe here in front, this is a Ridges pipe, an original to the organ, and low C sounds like this.
Oh my word.
So it really is more of a vibration.
Yeah.
So here's the bottom octave. So we have 5 sets of 32-foot pipes here, and this is, my kids call this the helicopter stop. Oop. It really is low
wow.
enough you can hear the individual vibrations. So
That's phenomenal.
I often say if I hadn't been an organist, I probably would have been a heavy metal guitarist. Because
I love it.
There is something really viscerally satisfying about, this sort of, feel that in your bones.
Yeah.
The way like with the distorted power chord.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rips through you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I noticed all the stops. Have you got presets where it just
Yeah.
they alter automatically?
Yeah, so these buttons underneath are locations in memory, so you can set up, the sounds, because each of these knobs is a sound, a stop, we call them, representing, a rank or set of pipes. So I pull out a knob and I'm turning on a set of pipes.
Yes.
So, for example, this one says trumpet, and kind of sounds trumpety, but there are 61 keys here on this keyboard, and so that's one pipe, that's a different pipe, and the higher we go, the shorter the pipes are becoming.
Sure.
So you can see this, 61 keys represent 61 pipes for that this one stop here. And so when you are learning a piece of music and getting ready to perform it, you have to basically orchestrate it. And so these buttons here are locations in memory where I can set up the sounds that I want, and then I press the button and the knobs pop out as I have saved them. So it's a way to quickly get at the sounds you want. On a smaller organ, you might be able to do it by hand, but on a big organ, it's just not practical.
Of course, yeah.
So I got a little bit, I said some things out of order. One of them, I was talking about the acoustics of the building.
Yes.
So the residents, the primary purpose of the building was for them to hear their religious leaders speak to them. And since they understood acoustics in only a very rudimentary way, they were shooting for intelligible spoken word. That was their priority. And so when the Tabernacle was completed, apparently initially it was just too reverberant and everything was a jumble. Mm-hmm. And so they built this balcony in an attempt to soak up some of the sound and dampen the acoustic.
Right.
And
okay.
that plus there's a little gap between the balcony and the side wall, and I guess that gap is the secret sauce.
Right. Okay.
So,
it just captures it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it worked out, and the people who designed and built the building, it was a miracle because you can speak without a microphone here and be understood.
Yes.
If you look over there, you'll see that there's a little pin drop table, and
I had a demonstration the other day.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
we do that. So we do our pin drop, and you can do it without a microphone and be understood. And sometimes when the people who do the demonstration, they will turn around, and no matter what direction they're facing, you can hear their voice throughout the building.
Incredible.
It doesn't make any difference. So the Tabernacle's acoustics have been described as perfect. I don't know that there is such a thing as perfect acoustics.
Yeah.
It depends on what you want, but they certainly are remarkable.
Yes.
And the fact that you can speak without a microphone and be understood for the time was unusual. Let's see. Maybe I will play a little bit for you.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Then you can take a turn.
Okay.
Can you tell them about how you guys changed the music? That's like my favorite part.
Yeah. So if you watch conference today, you saw we use paper.
Yeah.
And there's lots of paper. In fact, it's a challenge because Did you watch the broadcast?
I did.
So, like between pieces, we're like grabbing the music and throwing it up.
Okay.
So, but for recitals, I usually use an iPad, and some of my colleagues actually use iPad for broadcasts. I'm still a little leery of an iPad for a broadcast, just because I know
Could go
so
wrong.
much that can go wrong
Yeah.
with live TV. So for recitals, the stakes are lower, and so I do use my iPad, and I use an app that will watch my face, and then I move my mouth to turn the pages.
Really?
So you can
That's
see
really smart.
like that. I don't know if you want to try.
That's amazing. What do I have to do?
So just look at it, and so move your mouth like this. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you can go the other direction too.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technology,
So
huh?
other instrumentalists, they might use a little Bluetooth trigger or pedal that they can press. But on the organ, you're playing with your feet, so you don't have that
Of course,
option.
yeah.
So I'll play you a little.
Yes.
This is African American spiritual called "Little David Play on Your Harp,"
Okay.
and it's an arrangement I wrote for the choir broadcast a while ago.
Wow. That is phenomenal.
Okay, so now for something completely different.
Okay.
I'll play a transcription of Elgar's Nimrod.
Okay.
And that sort of stuff. This orchestral transcriptions work really well on the Tabernacle organ. Got lots of string colors. Joe can explain to you a little bit about what string stops are.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to do that now, Joe, or
What's that? Strings?
talk about. I'm going to play the Nimrod. Tell him what strings are.
Okay, so strings. So.
Do you want to take this, Joe?
Oh.
Is that all right? Just pop it on your pocket, just so I can hear.
Okay.
So what's interesting about pipes is that they have what's called scaling. And without getting too complex, and kind of oversimplifying. A bigger scale is kind of can be more of a fluty sound, and as you get closer, you get into what's called the principal sound or diapason, which is kind of strictly what the organ sounds like.
Sure.
And then as you get smaller, you get into strings. They get the dimension of the pipe changes and the diameter changes. And so as you're doing that, the tone, so with the wider flutes, you have more fundamental. So let's say, he'll show you. So a flute has a lot of just, let's just say for the sake, it's very opaque. It's very, there's not a lot of overtones.
Yeah.
But as you get that scale goes down, the overtones change, and you start to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And strings, as you get closer, you get less fundamental and more upper tones. And so,
So they're pipes. There's actually not strings.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just sound that
yeah,
way.
they sound a lot more strings because strings have, when the rosin goes over it, you have a lot of harmonic structure.
Yes.
So what the pipes do is they kind of imitate that sound. And the cool thing is, and this is kind of more of a, the idea came from that theater-esque. It came from England and was brought over here, and the company that made this, and also the organ builders from around that time period, they really started to explore string tone and getting, fatter scale strings, and then they would go smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And so you get this kind of orchestral effect that the organ does, and it's brilliant. But on this organ, there's all sorts of different diameter strings, and when you put them all together, it just sounds like this great kind of lush orchestral sound.
Incredible. Yeah.
So that's, and the other thing too is that usually with a set of strings, you'll have another set that's either identical or slightly smaller. It's kind of in the same family of tone, but it's detuned. And on organs, it's either sharp or flat. On this organ, it's all sharp, but it's slightly detuned, and so it creates this kind of undulation and a warmth. It resembles a lot of what a choir would sound putting together. So Andy's gonna.
So here's here's one string stop all by itself. So it's in tune. So but if you play it with its out of tune neighbor, then you get the effect of like orchestral string vibrato. So kind of the 1940s funeral home.
Yes.
But I mean, it's a very characteristic organ sound, and this organ has lots of different flavors of strings. It's kind of a, I don't know, characteristic Tabernacle string sound, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So anyways, when he plays this, you'll hear kind of the full effect of all those strings.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you.
absolutely
So
beautiful.
the dynamic range is also so huge. You know, you go from this roar down to nothing.
Yes.
And to really do that effectively, you need an organ like this. So anyway, yeah, it's so gorgeous. Every time I sit down here, I make a sound like that, and I think I am so lucky I get to play here.
It's a phenomenal instrument.
Yeah.
Now, I was so lucky. I was given an opportunity to play the organ. I don't know how to play an organ. It's crazy, right? It's a crazy instrument, as you've just seen. I'm an average at best piano player, so don't expect anything from me. This is me basically just stabbing random chords, just trying to figure out how to sort of play it, because you've got pedals, you've got all sorts, and I've got, Andrew talking to me and guiding me through it. But just to be allowed to hit the keys and make a sound with this instrument was such a privilege. I can't believe I was allowed to do it. And I wish you guys could feel what it felt like just to hit the lower notes on the pedal. It just vibrates your entire chest cavity, and I'm pretty sure that isn't going to come through on this audio. So that's a real shame. But anyway, enjoy.
Okay, so your turn.
Oh, God.
Run your camera.
Yeah, go for it. Thanks, Lindsay.
So I don't know, what your musical background is at all. But I mean, I've got a hymn book here if you want to read from that. If you just want to improvise something or just goof around, that's fine.
Maybe you can show me something. I don't really read music.
Okay.
And, I've kind of taught myself
Sure.
for the most part, so
Yeah.
maybe you can just show me.
Yeah.
something.
So just have a seat.
Are you already filming?
Yes. Yeah, it's rolling already.
Okay. So each keyboard controls a different geographic zone of the organ.
Okay, yep.
And the zones have different functions. So, I don't need to tell you what all those functions are necessarily, but sometimes people will think, okay, like this is lower and these are higher, like orally as you go up, but that's not true. So some have more accompaniment sounds, some have louder sounds, and really, you can see lots of different orchestral names here, trumpet, and there's like a French horn, and this is a clarinet, English horn, and then some kind of generic organ sounds. So why don't you play it? This is the main keyboard. It's called the Great. So go ahead. So these are kind of just generic, if you're gonna play Bach, this is. And you can combine the resources of two keyboards together. So this is pretty full, but I can bring this keyboard down to this one with this coupler.
Right. Okay.
And I'm going to bring some of this up to here. So this is the main one here. So go ahead, just play some chords on that. So you can see how the pedal keyboard looks like a big piano keyboard you play with your feet. Yeah. And I've got these fancy organ shoes that are like very thin sole and very narrow. So the idea, because you can't really look down, you kind of have to use the force to figure out where you are. Okay. Normally you're playing the bass, the lowest stuff with your feet, although not always, but normally. So why don't you play, so you can find C. So go ahead and play some chords and then play some C's with your play the bottom C. See the heavy metal thing,
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's kind of intimidating because there's so much sound.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some flute colors. So I'll put some different flute colors on different keyboards. You can just see what they sound like. Different flavors on different keyboards. So just play a couple notes on the different keyboards and just see what you think. So where your left hand is right now, so this top keyboard, these pipes are on the other side of the room. You can see that thing looks kind of like a heating grate.
Yeah.
So you can really feel it. Just play maybe some short notes up there. You can feel how it takes a bit of time for the speed of sound to
It does.
The sound is produced immediately. Speed of light basically, but it's far enough away that it takes some time. So it feels a little weird. Okay, so set up some string sounds for you.
Okay.
So start play on this bottom keyboard, and then when you're in the mood, move up to this keyboard here. It's kind of like a synth pad sound, really, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I played the bottom C for you.
That's so powerful. What I'm saying.
Yeah,
It shakes the room,
and
doesn't it?
Yeah, and because of the acoustics of the room, there is something magical, I think, about these strings, especially when you're accompanying the choir. These gas pedal things down
Yes.
here, they're basically controlling kind of Venetian blinds. So
Yeah.
parts of the organ, I told you, like each keyboard is in its own geographical area, and some of those areas have these blinds, and you can open and close the blinds because an organ pipe is either on or off. You know, on the piano, you can hit a key hard, it's going to be louder. If you play it softly, it'll be the sound that's produced is soft. But organ pipe is on or off, and so if you want to make dynamics on the organ, you either have to add or take away pipes, or you have to open or close the Venetian blinds. So that's what those things do. So this one here in the middle that says swell. So I just closed the blinds. So this is the swell. So just play a chord up here on the swell. Now open up the swell box.
Oh, wow.
So the shades opens when you did that, and you can shut it back down again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of mechanism in between you and making music. There's a lot that can go wrong when you play the organ. We also have a couple of, we call them party horns.
Okay.
And one of them's here. Well, actually, let's make it a little more comfortable for you. There's one here,
Oh, wow.
and then I put the other one on the second keyboard. So
Wow. It's really punchy.
yeah, that's it's for
Yeah.
so that sort of thing. So for a really big solo kind of sound, that's what they're for. Okay. Well, there's lots to choose from, and it's a big. Every time I learn a new piece of music and bring it up to the Tabernacle organ, I learn something new about the instrument and what it can do, and so many different sounds. I'm always wanting to explore what can this do. How can I approach the Tabernacle organ in a way I haven't before? So I'm always learning about it, and it's a fantastic instrument. And I love to travel and play other organs, but there's no place like home too. So
Yeah, I bet.
yeah.
Well, thank
And
you
you're
so
going
much.
to England in a couple days.
Yeah, I talked to him. Actually, on next Sunday I play in Westminster Abbey. So
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
And what's for what event?
So there is a weekly recital in the Abbey after Evensong on Sundays, and so for them it's no big deal because I'm just filling that role. But for
Yeah.
me, it's Westminster Abbey,
It's a big
so
deal.
it's a big deal
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, amazing.
So I'm going to play some Stanford, and a couple of English things, and some Vierne, Louis Vierne, and this French organ dude. So yeah.
Is it
I'm excited.
is it televised or streamed anywhere? Do you
I
have
don't
to
think
be
so.
there?
I think you have to be there.
Can anyone just show up?
Oh yeah. It's a free concert. I think it's like 5 p.m. in the Abbey. On Sunday.
Okay, on Sunday.
Yeah.
I might try and head up.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
for the
Oh,
demonstration.
you're welcome. Yeah.
It's been a real joy.
It's
and
a pleasure to meet you.
privilege.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you want to get an inside the organ case tour, Joe is your guy.
Amazing.
But I wonder, do you want to get some pictures here at the organ console? I want a picture with him because my wife wants to see that I met this guy.
So I'm going to leave you with a few shots of a trip I took up into the canyons with my new buddy Chris. It was just getting into autumn at the time and the colours were unbelievable. Now I know this video's been a little bit disjointed and hasn't flowed the best, but as I say, I had no time to plan it whatsoever. So I hope you've enjoyed what I did throw together for you. I will most likely make a separate video discussing my experience at General Conference. Unfortunately, because I wasn't allowed to film in General Conference, there's no actual footage of the choir or any other part of the proceedings, but I will do a brief video on what I thought of what was said. Thank you for watching, gang. I will see you in the next one, and as always, be kind to yourselves, love everyone,
and take care. I freaking love you guys.